Good morning, Gardenia. Happy Thursday. Got a big show lined up for you today. Welcome to Adam versus the Man. Got to start this off with a shout out to the Crypto Six. Joining us today as our guest is Aria DiMezzo, one of the Crypto Six. In an hour, she will be here. Very excited to get her story and a whole lot more perspective from someone who's one of the Crypto Six, actually sharing her experience with arrest, jail, bail, and what's going on with our friend Ian still being locked up with nobody. And that's not nobody. He's not locked up alone. He's locked up with Mr. Nobody, formerly Rich Paul. So we're going to get that story from her today. It's Thursday. We didn't get to, I know you were all disappointed that we didn't talk about COVID yesterday. You haven't had enough COVID in your lives. So we got a COVID block to kick off the show today. We've got a crypto block. Hopefully we'll get to both of those before Aria. And a big catch-up grab bag before we get to a monster Friday show tomorrow. We got to clear links. We got to do an awesome interview. We got to clear a ton of links today to get you guys caught up so we can do Friday, Good News Friday, have fun with the Cutting Edge show. Like, there's just so many stories piling up this week. Helicopter on Mars, new species discovered in the ocean, all that coming on FINA Friday tomorrow. So without further ado, filling in as executive producer today, CJ Abernathy. Producer notes, please, sir.
Morning, Adam. Jim needed the day off, so here I am. Let's see here. You can join this conversation. Let me see if I can, in my best Jim presentation. If you haven't already, please go to the public Telegram chat at t.me/Adam versus the Man. That is where you can get the show notes for every show. Even if we go through some links we don't, some links we do. Either way, they're all there. Everything. That's your public Telegram chat way to get hold of us. You can go to adamversustheman.com where that will be the central hub. From there, you can click our Patreon link where $1, $5, $10, or $50 a month gets you gives that support. I'm getting all the notifications right now that Adam versus the Man is currently live, and then, which is actually good news, I guess. And $10 a month gets you access to our private chat. That's where, again, it's 24/7 chat on Telegram. Everybody that you see on the screen here is in that chat. If you win one of our contests for the comment contest, which our co-host will get to today, Mercedes, then you can access that chat, which is where we have a lot of our fun, where Adam does a lot of the show prep links prepared. And then as well as our store, adamversustheman.com, has the store up and running. If you go onto our store and you click latest, you're going to be able to see that we have put up a few more items: pins, backpacks, coffee mug, and my favorite, the new Freedom Clock. Our Producers Club members and better patrons get 15% off and free shipping at our online store. And that's just our way of saying thank you for helping support the broadcast. We also have our affiliate partner, Cigar Federation, where promo code Adam110, Adam10, 80AM10, all caps, gets you 10% off your order at Cigar Federation. And you can pick from any one of their awesome assorted flavors, the JSK Nugs, obviously being Adam's favorite. And then, of course, we got a lot of promos here. I skipped one here. Forgot Go Green Energy. Take care of the environment. Well, if you do, go check out gogreenenergy.com. That's where Adam got his wind turbine there in Gardenia from the Turbine Guy. And you can learn a lot about different off-grid solar solutions with Jay, the solar guy.
Who will be joining us tomorrow.
Who will be joining us tomorrow. And then from there, we did mention the Crypto 6, but that website doesn't work for me. Might work for you. But try to check it out to help.
Yeah, hold on. Is that still? This isn't. We wanted to talk about this on the air, CJ. Is this an issue for you? Like, is it? You think it's your ISP? Maybe.
I have no idea what it is. It just gives me when I go to the Crypto 6 I make sure I spell this right.
Yeah, because here I'm going to turn the camera around and show people that on my screen,
Did
the
I mean, I just want to
crypto6.com.
make sure I didn't spell crypto wrong. Did I spell
You
crypto
spelled
wrong?
crypto wrong.
I
Maybe you
mean,
spelled the. Did you spell your name right? Did
I
you spell
mean,
the right?
I mean,
It's
I'm
not
just
six spelled out. It's the number six. Do you know what
yeah.
the number six is? It's the
The
one after five.
crypto6.com. What I get is the site can't provide a secure connection, so they most likely don't have an SSL on that website.
It shows up as HTTPS for me. It
Hmm.
sounds like it's more getting blocked by an ISP, and that would make more sense. So you think it in your conservative wonderland of South
Uh,
Dakota?
well,
You don't think Christy Nome is blocking the crypto6? Come on, man, give her some credit.
I mean, I'd like to think she's that smart, but there's no way she is that smart. It's got to be somebody other than Christy
Well,
Noam. I can't
not
give.
her personally.
I mean, yeah, no, I was gonna say I can't give her the credit for anything intelligent at all. That's just never gonna happen. I mean, so I don't believe it's her at all. But yeah, but it's good to have Aria on for today, not being Adam loves the man in your statist form. So
Hey,
maybe we can try to figure out like a screenshot. Maybe you can screenshot it, give it to me, and I can throw it up on there, I guess.
well,
But
we got it. We got a great comment here from You've Been Trolled already on screen. Excuse me, I don't want to give it away. You've Been T rolled.
mm.
What's a slinky and a government official have in common? Neither one are good for anything, but they both put a smile on your face when you push one down the stairs. Well
I
done,
mean,
well done. Kicking off the comments for our Friday show. Thank you very much, Euban. All right. Anything else, CJ? Should we get
yeah.
Mercedes on screen here?
Of course, the Garden of Freedom. Check out Thelma and Louise. We got
I'm still behind. I'm still behind. I have so many photos. I
yeah.
have kittens. I have
Well,
construction work.
again,
I have.
all of the images from Gardenia that Adam that you like to put out up there at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram. Did I forget anything else? I feel like I did. Well, hey, when James Vaughn, when our own comment Jim Freedom is on, I'm gonna remind you guys we still got his GoFundMe going on. It's floating around in our Telegram there. So if you can, please do help support. Other than that, Adam, to Mercedes.
Well, hey, well, CJ, before you go, one more thing I want to say, just is the way you said about the Go Green Energy Online, and I'm excited to say that we should be
Oh,
having a sponsorship similar with EdenGrowSystems.com as well. We get an Eden Grow Pod out here built into the shipping container, but you said take the extra step to protect the environment, and I'm reminded of the George Carlin bit. Save the earth, save the whales. You can save the whales, save the earth, save the planet. You're gonna save the planet. The planet is gonna shrug you off like a bad cold. You know, when we're done, the planet is gonna be here long after humans have come and gone. We are a minor nuisance at worst on the skin of this thing, right? I mean, I'm really butchering the George Carlin rant now, right? But the idea of like protecting the environment by going green and go green energy online and being more conscientious, it's really not the way you said it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way for a second, like it was an appeal to an environmentalist paternalism. If you want to
well,
protect the environment, and it's like
actually, that's on
that's their
their
that's their
website. So
version.
I just
The
kind of
extra
used that
step
as a segue there, Adam.
there,
But
thank you. No, thank you, CJ. Thank you. No, but the extra step to care for the environment for the people who want that, hey, give it to them, right? And I think in a sense we all want to care for the environment, but it's even deeper than that in our relationship. It's a way to say to stick it to the man and say I'm not going to be on your grid anymore for one, but even deeper than that about not saying oh I'm going to protect the environment, but I'm going to be one with it. I am the environment. We are the universe becoming aware of itself. And it's about maximizing our consciousness and efficiency in use of natural resources. And there's so much more to this. I'll stop. But tomorrow, Jay Nygaard will join us. Maybe we'll ask him about this. This will be our topic of deeper philosophical distinction for our Friday Good News show with Fina. But
all
now,
right.
our co-host for the day, Mercedes Damartowski, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live
Yeah.
from Nebraska.
Sorry. As you were calling me on, Corey's like, "Hey, mom," like this. Oh, really?
Hey,
Okay,
Cora.
say hi. She did her own makeup this morning, and I tried to take it off, and so now she looks like she has a black eye. So that's great. Welcome to Toddlers. Did you do your makeup? Do you, my co-host? You, my in-house co-host? Yeah.
The
Yes, you're so
co-host to the
beautiful.
co-host.
The co-host of my partner in crime. I am so glad today's Earth Day. Hello. Let's mention that right now.
Oh,
It's
that's
Earth
right.
Day. It's
It's birthday.
so your Earth Day rants you didn't even know about. That was great. So woohoo! Unknowingly advocating for the Earth all the time. Libertarians at work in real life. For real though, like we pick up a lot of trash. Like we went on a walk yesterday, and I picked up a lot of trash in this stroller because that's what we do. We take walks in our neighborhood and pick up trash. It's the
Oh, I thought you
littlest
meant
thing
you
I can
saw
do.
like a Republican or a Democrat, who tripped and fell on the sidewalk, and you were picking them up
I
and
mean,
calling they
when
were the
elderly
trash.
people fall, it is when elderly people fall, it is kind to pick them up. I know just because my grandparents are Democrats doesn't mean they don't need the chairlift. Seriously though, that chairlift thing is fun right up and down. So today's comment contest, do you have one? Or am I picking it? I didn't. I mean, hello.
I know it's hard to follow. You've been trolled there with the slinky joke, but
No.
um,
That's why I put it up. I'm like, oh, that's juicy.
we
Especially
haven't
right
had
now.
any good COVID humor for a while. I mean,
Oh,
I gave that
I have a
speech in
lot of dark
Kentucky.
humor about it now if you want to hear it. Because, having gone through that, I'm like coping. And
Well, yesterday I came up with the best joke about COVID ever, but there's a 99.9% chance you won't get it. That's still not old. How is that not old? See, you laugh. I told that joke in Kentucky and was like, shit, this joke has got to be getting older than the lockdowns. And people were like, no,
no,
no.
no, no. It's still lingering, just like the effects. It's fine. Um,
Uh,
fuck.
about that, the lingering effects, the mental health thing. We covered this
Yeah.
in our COVID block Monday. And it's like, no, so it's a lot of
Uh,
psychosomatic, unhealthy,
but no,
borderline
but
people
here's
going,
actually,
well,
no, I took
if
notes.
I just,
No,
if,
I took notes. We're going to talk about this.
oh,
So,
okay.
when we're talking about
That's good
COVID and
news.
mental health issues, we need to remember that COVID is a neurological disease. It does attack your every person is different. That's why when you have reactions to the vaccine, those reactions are COVID symptoms. They don't
Right.
want you to
Well,
get
I would
them.
say right here, I would say similar to the flu. Let's recognize that having a fever,
It's a good reaction
having
because your
that
body is
virus
having an
in your
immune reaction.
blood,
You
having that
know it's working.
is it's going to slow you down. It's going to put you in a
Yeah.
different brain state. So this isn't like, oh my. So I'm sort of backing you up,
Yeah,
Mercedes, not
no,
just
that's just it
downplaying
is
it, but
people
putting it
are
in a
emotionally
normal
reacting right
context.
now. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm talking over you.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No, no, that's great. But
No,
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 this
there's
no, because you've helped me understand this in the past and like put this in context as someone who has more direct experience with COVID. I mean, as we understand, you had it once, probably twice, possibly a third time. You've had people actually significantly affected by it, and you're still, on the same. Like, I think there are a lot of people in our audience, and I'm of the mind where like I don't know exactly. Maybe on one end of this reasonable spectrum of what is COVID overall is Mercedes' perspective. Then there are people who want to downplay it even more, but we are even within that band of understanding, all on the same page of the government is exaggerating and the lockdowns are bullshit and violating your rights like this is never justified, and the pushing
like
of the vaccine and the prevention of
just
accountability for
because
that
this
is criminal.
sucks, just because this sucks doesn't mean that you get to take advantage of it to make us
Right.
slaves because you want to. Like, does it suck my grandpa died of COVID? Yes. Does this disease literally deteriorate your lungs so they don't work anymore if you fit a specific demographic? Absolutely. I saw it. I witnessed it. That means that we need to recognize the multidimensional. Hold on, I got to get up and get her a Pop Tart. That's why we're shrieking. Um,
Oh, okay.
Pop-Tarts are pretty
oh
important.
my
Pop tarts
God.
and pacifiers. Same thing. Right.
She won't take a pacifier. The o- Am I getting too excited? And this is why it's hard to co-host.
So no, it's interesting, Mercedes, that you point out that there's this psychological dynamic that is
Oh yeah,
inherent to the virus itself. But we have to tease that apart from the general manipulation as well, and that's what's so sad right now is that
yeah.
there are certain a demographic. Well, we've all been conditioned to a certain degree to be victims. Society is engineered right now under at this point in our level of modern bureaucratic governments in the first world, the welfare system, the general culture, the sense of what victim privilege represents, and the rewards, the way that it's
Yes.
incentivized in
So
so many ways. And then we are made vulnerable and beaten down, and an opportunity like this to play the victim comes up. There are a lot of people, and this detracts from people being able to deal with whatever the virus is appropriately, responsibly, medically. And instead, it's people jumping in, being crazy, taking advantage of it, and politicians going, "Oh, yes,
and it's
you are
because
right
of
to be
money.
crazy."
And it's for money. It's for money because emotional reactions sell. Media needs emotional reactions to keep you emotionally engaged. If cable's dying, of course
Yeah,
you're going to take advantage of a pandemic. Ratings are going to go up. They're going to make you afraid because fear sells. If
yeah.
you can't make them love you, make them fear you. Like that's very political minded because we're political minded, but that's what they're doing to us. And
And,
the more we react, the less we will understand and communicate, and then the more we will just be America.
and this is part of what makes it hard to oppose this while maintaining intellectual integrity, right? It would be really easy to say the virus is a hoax, it's all fake, don't take the vaccine, they're all
They're
bullshit.
making the frogs gay.
But we can't do that, because then we're just as dishonest, and it's tempting when you go, well, the American people are dumb and they're obviously gullible, and it's easier to trick someone than to convince them that, or like the Twain quote, it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. And we are in the business of sort of unfooling people, and it's
Yep.
it's
We're
very
telling the
tempting.
truth. And a lot of people don't like that because if we tell the truth and they are not, and they're benefiting from them not telling the truth, then here we come in and mess everything up unintentionally just because we're telling the
Right.
truth. And they're anyway, I want to address this comment specifically because when I had COVID the first time, I was working in a restaurant as a manager in a pizza place, okay? And I got sick in COVID. We had been we in our business, in our restaurant business, heard about COVID, knew about COVID. I have people outside of the country. We were tracking COVID through the distribution system because, the Spanish flu was spread around by the post office, and they don't want you to know that. It's not a conspiracy. It happened. Thank you. And that was it. And that was the first wave of swine flu. The Spanish flu was the first wave of swine flu, but they named it the Spanish flu because Spain isolated it so quickly and got a control of it. So when we talk about mandatory lockdowns and stuff, like when the island states lock down, if you've ever played the game Pandemic and you've used a virus as your means, it's really hard to win the game because the islands are really hard to infect because they lock down so hard. So if they have one case, automatic lockdown, automatic trace contacting, that's what Asia does. So we have to also recognize this COVID is the SARS-CoV-2. It's a mutation of the avian flu. Asia's already been through this. They already kind of have an immunity. They're not going to have those death rates, even if they are, because the population's already had a similar thing go through, just like N1H1. I had N1H1. My grandparents had it back in the day.
Here's the tricky part in managing it then for everybody, whether you're government or honest people who want to just help society figure out a better way to deal with this, is that it's the kind of virus that doesn't quite justify lockdowns and shutdowns on a broad basis, or it's sort of arguable. Maybe it does here, maybe it doesn't there, but sort of still never force lockdowns, force shutdowns, never government mandated. But there would be a voluntary or insurance-based or incentive-based way to do this, based on, in a free society, based on how harmful the virus is.
You mean like
not understand it,
not restricting the experts from revealing information that is detrimental?
In this statist solution response, we can't even come anywhere near to this balance. The response is it lock down and isolate and address it, and
So
attack it, or is
what
it
happened
let it
was,
go to herd immunity, or is it flatten the curve? And odds are the best response really is somewhere around and flatten the curve. You know, like hypothetically, that is not a
slow down
bad
the
idea
spread so the
in
medical
response.
industry can. That's so what Nebraska did, and what should have been done is we slowed the spread. We voluntarily limited social interaction. We did what we thought we needed to do because we on a local level saw that the feds were freaking the fuck out. Like they lost their shit. That's why they're like, ah. And then the other states, you saw each and every state that was authoritarian because they panicked. They panicked. They locked everything down to see where it was because they didn't know what was going on. They had no idea what was going on. So if you don't know what's going on and you need to track people, you ground them. And then you know where they are and you know where they're sick. And then you can see the clusters of sickness because that's as far as you can go. Because by the time New York, fuck Como, but by the time he was very informational though, he used the emotional triggers though. And that's why I'm like, his nipples pierced, by the way. Nipples are pierced. So this anyway, the transmission rate, that's what you needed to listen for all last year's transmission rate, because that's when you knew how long it had been in the community. So by the time New York realized how bad their problem was, the transmission rate was 1 in 1,000. That transmission rate overwhelms the healthcare systems because of the infrastructure. For-profit medicine then shuts down anything non-essential because we have a distribution choke.
Right. Well, we should say hypothetically shuts down the medical or overwhelms, but in reality, that was manipulated in a whole other bunch of ways too.
But
You
it was
can't
lack
even
of
say like
information.
that's what happened,
But
that's what could happen.
At the time, it was lack of information. They thought it was a respiratory disease. They didn't understand it was a neurological clotting disease and that putting people on ventilators didn't matter. Once you're at that point, your lungs deteriorate.
No, that they kill people. They kill people.
It gives you a couple days.
They kill people. No, they kill people by overprescribing ventilators.
That
to what extent we don't know. And I don't want to sound like
it probably could have.
Like, oh my God,
been worse than it was.
But no,
it could have been worse than it was.
Of the treatment protocol that led to
it was a manipulation of information that led to the death of millions of people. The government killed millions of people because they restricted our ability to know things and treat ourselves. When I had COVID, I treated myself. I have asthma. I had one doctor try to tell me that I needed to not feel like, she asked me how I felt. I said I felt like I was drowning in my own fluids and I was dying. She said, "You're a woman. You should be tougher than that." The nurse told me that. Yes, that's the medical field here. Oh, are you okay, my love? I know,
well,
Mommy's getting upset.
Let's get on with the comment contest. It's best COVID joke today.
Yes, I'm dying to hear it.
Well, I want to make one other point before we get to our headlines. Now that COVID is completely uncontained today,
oh my God, that was
like Cora. But I want to go back to this point I was making earlier, just to connect it to like what I think is valuable about Adam versus the Man, because it's tempting to say, oh, it's all a hoax, it's all fake, you know, it's all bullshit, get away, don't take the vaccine. And you would still be correct if you took that extremist stance in what you'd be advising people to do, and maybe have a better short-term effect, that you can use fear like government to scare people into doing what you want them to do, even if you want them to do the right thing. You know, do the ends justify the means? And I don't think so when it's dishonesty. And I'll tell you, the outcome is better when you maintain your intellectual integrity and become a reliable source. And one of the things that I value most, like about the book Freedom, when people thank me, like, oh yeah, hey, thank you for writing this, thank you for making these ideas available and putting my thoughts into words like this and identifying it, is that I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not even telling you or teaching you how to think. I'm showing a worldview and an analysis that which allows us to see current events more accurately, to understand the world better, to live happier. And it's ultimately about thinking for yourself. I'm showing you a way to think that works for me. That is not, and I'm not taking credit for this. The product of all of my intellectual influences, Rothbard especially, of course, but that have led me to this world understanding that I think is very empowering and worth sharing. But even here, it's giving you hopefully the motivation, the inspiration to really think for yourself, because even the ultimate advice, and see, this is the thing, we might have less of an impact in the short run. We might have a smaller audience, but by freeing mind, I know that we have a deeper, more meaningful long-term impact. And even with COVID, with the advice that I'm giving now is think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the vaccine, it's not, don't take it. It's, well, hey, if you don't have a reason to, why put a foreign object in your body if you can wait and figure out a safer way to do it? But hey, if you have a particular reason that's compelling to you and you've done your research and thought it out and you're being health conscious, then, make that decision for yourself. And that's really our advice. That's ultimately how I give advice about everything.
Yep, I do that too. Like I my favorite wise quote is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's it. I can show you the way.
Horse over the head and then give it an IV and intravenous fluids, but that's a lot more work. With that, let's give out some more misleading medical advice and get into our COVID block today, shall we? The comment contest is best joke about COVID. Thank you, CJ.
Okay. Cute stuff.
Don't worry, it's not COVID. I'm just a stoner. We start off the COVID block today with the cutest story about COVID ever. If only all the news about COVID could involve otters. TheHill.com, otters at Georgia Aquarium test positive for COVID-19. Who's making out with the otters? How is this? What's going? Are people like coughing on the otters? Are we not distancing from otters? Remember, it was New York City that said they had to tell their residents directly, like, don't forget, social distancing includes not engaging in oral anal sex. Don't be licking buttholes. You might get COVID. What like? But there's so much like wrong with this story on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin, but why weren't we short on tests? Aren't we like overwhelmed dealing with humans? We're taking care of otters for COVID. I get it. Testing, it gets out there. The Georgia Aquarium announced that their Asian small clawed otters have tested, not just any otters, Asian small clawed otters have tested positive for COVID-19. See, they're Asian. They're Asian. They're like Chinese. I mean, Chinese, Japanese, I don't know. They all look the same to me. I can't tell the difference. But, Asian small-clawed otters, we got to fear them like because this is the Kung flu. Have tested positive for COVID-19. The latest animals to contract the highly contagious virus, the Atlanta facility said Sunday that the entire group of animals was exhibiting mild respiratory symptoms, including sneezing, runny noses, mild lethargy, and coughing. The long-term side effects of COVID-19 among the species are unknown, but Tonya Kloss, Vice President of Animal and Environmental Health, said the animal care team expects the otters to make a full recovery. And this is like really, I wonder if this is one of like the false positive, like, yeah, they had a flu, they had a cold, they had a respiratory thing, and they gave them one of the tests most likely to give them a headline. The aquarium said in a statement, out of an abundance of caution, all staff who have been in contact with the otters have been tested. The risk of animal to human transmission is incredibly rare. The risk is rare. It should be the risk is low, right? If that's what they're trying to say. The Asian small-clawed otters at the aquarium do not have direct contact with guests and have always been behind acrylic barriers separating them from guests. The otters are not the first animals in captivity to test positive for coronavirus in the U.S. Tigers are apparently more susceptible to contracting the coronavirus. 2 Malayan tigers tested positive in Virginia earlier this month, and at least 8 big cats, because this is trendy, including 5 tigers and 3 African lions became infected with the coronavirus at the Bronx Zoo last year. Several gorillas at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park tested positive for COVID-19 in January, marking the first known case of the disease among primates other than humans. 4 orangutans and 5 bonobos at the San Diego Zoo received 2 doses of an experimental vaccine for animals developed by veterinary pharmaceutical company Zoetis. See where they're going with this? Vaccines for animals. It's going to be for dogs and cats because that's where the market is. That's okay. So not all the news is so cute about Corona. Daily Mail, our next headline: kiss goodbye to foreign travel. State Department plans do not travel advisory for 80% of countries due to COVID. Yeah, the U.S. Department of State announced it will be issuing level 4 do not travel advisories for 80% of countries in the coming weeks. In a statement released on Monday, officials recommended that Americans reconsider all travel abroad. That's quote, reconsider all travel abroad. Level 4 is generally reserved for war-torn countries or those that would be considered hostile to U.S. citizens, such as Afghanistan and North Korea. It comes 2 weeks after the CDC issued new guidelines stating that people who are fully vaccinated can travel safely within the U.S. and internationally. Now, they're going to, of course, be able to, no, that vaccine? Oh, that's not good anymore. You got to get the new vaccine, and then you can travel freely internationally. Oh, no. Oh, that one? No, but that's only good for this region because here they've got a mutation, bro. It's all good. We'll get you another vaccine, bro. It's like, I'm doing the farmer bro thing, I guess. I don't know. But this thing about nationalism, like xenophobia, fear of the others, I don't think this is like a deliberate part of the conspiracy, but for the super class who just always like divide and conquer. Oh, well, in India, they're still having a surge, and who knows what mutation they might get. Even if you've got the vaccine, better not to go to India. Not that American tourism to India was that big of a deal anyway, right? But be afraid of the brown peoples. Definitely be afraid of especially the poor brown people. I mean, they can't even afford good. They're getting the Chinese vaccine in Brazil. I mean, those poor brown people. You got to stay away from them for sure. You see, and this will the actual idea of a biohazard or a viral threat creating the need to isolate, to lock down. It really does feed into tribalism. I don't think that that's really inherently a motivator of the conspiracy of conspiracies that are all behind this, but it's definitely a silver lining for them. AFP, in other travel restriction news, hugs tears as Australia and New Zealand travel bubble opens. The big islands. Families reunited in emotional scenes Monday as Australia and New Zealand launched a quarantine-free travel bubble that opened the border almost 400 days after its pandemic-enforced closure. There were group hugs and enthusiastic welcomes at airport terminals on both sides of the Tasman Sea as the long-awaited bubble sparked joy and relief. Lorraine Ratt, a New Zealander stranded by the pandemic while visiting family in Australia, told AFP that traveling again was wonderful. Hooray for bubbles! And it's sort of like there's a natural arc to a lot of government rackets, right? They just drug war, cannabis prohibition, for example, right? That there's a lie, there's a series of lies, there's a demonization, there's a campaign, there's a group of major industrial, corporate, banking, whatever, large scale social interests or financial interests that get attached to keeping the racket going. And then people slowly realize that it's a racket, and there's a period of denial and justification and trying to keep it going for as long as possible. And then when it's undeniable that it's bullshit, that it's a racket, that it's not good for people, it's not good for society, that we are victims of a criminal enterprise in this particular dynamic of a government racket. Well, then they go, well, we have to just transition as slowly as possible. Absolutely, And you go, really? Now, COVID, compared to cannabis prohibition, is happening much faster, right? So this is good news. But you think also that's partly a product of the times. If someone tried now, like if we had the internet, and this isn't really technologically feasible, I get it, but if we had the internet back in, say, the turn of the century and through the 20s, when William Randolph Hearst was pushing, on behalf of the paper industry based on trees, because the propaganda against cannabis, marijuana is the racist term to associate it. Although as Joey would point out, also gave us a great term to rhyme with for music. But that marijuana came about as a term during that time. If we had the internet back then, would they have ever even gotten away with that big lie in the first place? And so that arc of that racket happened in a time when information was much slower. And you could institute a major racket like the drug war and have it go for decades, and then the internet comes along and kills it, right? Now, COVID comes along, and they're able to lie about it enough to get this whole racket of the lockdowns, shutdowns, vaccines, everything going. But now it's coming out, and so we need to. The truth is coming out about the scope of the threat of this thing and how much governments have ripped people off and taken advantage of this and used it as an opportunity to exploit people. So then we see what we're in now is the phase of letting go of the racket as slowly as possible. And it's like, oh, look at these benign governments, because they did such a good job and because you were so obedient, you were able to, we were able to ease up on our shutdown policies, and we created a travel bubble between New Zealand and Australia. And it's because our incredible pharmaceutical companies have done such a great job, and because our great government overlords have done such a good job getting them money in a hurry and protecting them from liability if their vaccines kill people. Well, it's a good thing now because we've all pulled together. We get to we get to loosen our restrictions. And you go, yeah, I think it's more accurate to say people are just getting fed up with your shit, and we're realizing that it's a racket. And if you kept this going, we'd fucking kick you all out of office, just like we're doing with Cuomo and Newsom. And that's New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is now not only facing the sex allegations, but the allegations and pretty decisive just understanding now that his manipulation of the nursing care, elderly care centers, is that what they're being referred to as now? Elderly treatment center, something like that. Whatever. There's a popular acronym for old folks homes now, right? Or assisted living facilities. That his policies cause unnecessary deaths in New York, and that California Governor Newsom, in his carrying out of the restrictions and shutdowns and everything else in California, the hypocrisy that he revealed. I mean, the French Laundry incident, going back to that. So the other politicians see this. Remember, this is really important. Like everybody around the world in government who said, COVID, I can push this. I can profit from this one way or another. Okay, cool. Well, they see Cuomo and Newsom push it too far, and they go, yeah, that's the limit. And it's like all these politicians are constantly walking the line, all these criminals, to see how much they can get away with. And when we say, no, you can't get away with that, the rest of them have to let off. And all this narrative of, oh, yeah, we did such a good job, we can loosen restrictions. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. All right, now with those rants out of the way, let's skim through some more headlines. All right, we got another big one, though. Infowars.com video. Military members say, fuck no, we won't take vaccine. And Infowars censors the word fuck because it's a family website. Service members voice their refusal to be injected with experimental medication. Members of the U.S. military voiced their refusal to take the COVID-19 vaccine in a video circulating on social media. Army, in a TikTok video produced Monday, several Marines stationed in an Army base are asked by a fellow Marine whether they will take the vaccine. CJ, let's get audio on this one.
Ravi, did you get the vaccine? Fuck! No. Hey, did you get the vaccine? Yes. Did you get the vaccine? Did you get the vaccine? Did you get the vaccine? No. Did you get the vaccine? No. Did y'all get the vaccine? Did y'all get the vaccine? No. Hey, did you get the vaccine? No. Did you get the vaccine? Hell no. Did you get the vaccine? Fuck no. Did you get the vaccine? No, what if I die? Ravi, did you?
Wow. Like you hear this headline from InfoWars and you go, is this sensationalizing things a little bit? Is this cherry picking or and they're not trying to say like, oh yeah, we have a survey of military. No, but this is like pretty like compared to all the surveys that we've seen about vaccine attitudes. This is a little more to one end, but Marines, tough guys, right? We're young, we're fit, we're healthy. I'll fucking brush off the virus like it's no big deal. Like you want me to worry about that? And this is like I wish we had an ability to get out sort of honest surveys, in ways that we know are more reflective of this reality than what we're seeing. But that's a pretty cool video. So props to whoever made that. Up next, the Washington Post and MSN.com. America's first long weekend of the vaccination era is coming. Here's where travelers are headed. Last Memorial Day, travel was at an all-time low. Only about 1.5 million people flew for the holiday compared to 12 million travelers in 2019. But with more than 85 million people in the United States now fully vaccinated, the travel industry is expecting a busy 3-day weekend. Memorial Day is going to be the first real big holiday that is coming up on the horizon, said Leo Seckler, Vice President of Revenue Management, the hotel management company HRI Lodging. Between that and 4th of July, we expect those two holidays to really show some spectacular demand. Now, how much of this is economic cheerleading rather than a reflection of reality, actual reporting? Who knows what this, there are a lot of hotels that, I don't know, buy advertising in the mainstream media. Of course, they're going to want to play this up. But there is going to be some rebound effect. I don't have any particular predictions here, except that it's going to be overhyped to some degree, right? It's kind of obvious. But that there is going to be some kind of rebound. And the other thing that I can safely predict is that the new economy that grows out of this is going to reflect what Donald Trump said about restaurants. Oh, don't worry, some of them may close down. They'll come back just under new ownership. Oh, yeah, that doesn't worry me at all, Mr. Trump. Yeah, sure, take ownership of everything. Why not? Jerusalem Post, new thing they're trying to. This is interesting because this is a vaccine scare story. New vaccine side effect in Israel. 6 people develop herpes zoster. HZ is characterized by a small red rash that develops on the skin and itches. If complications develop, it can cause nerve damage and pain, including a prolonged burning session on the skin. I assume that's burning sensation, but it says session on the website here. A new study published this month by researchers from Tel Aviv, Sourasky Medical Center, and Carmel Medical Center in Haifa found that the risk of developing herpes zoster infection following a coronavirus vaccination, people with auto-inflammatory rheumatic diseases, AIIRD, increases. Lead researcher said, we cannot say the vaccine is the cause at this point. We can say it might be a trigger in some patients. And as I was looking at this, it occurred to me that there, like the idea of the super class, it's a bunch of people sitting around at a poker table and, they'll play poker with each other. They'll compete. They want to push other people out of the game, but they want to respect the rules of the game, that if they're super class, you get to play poker. But if you come up and try to upset the table, they will all band together and beat you down. Well, there's an interesting similar dynamic forming right now with the vaccines, right? You got to imagine that there is genuine competition. There is, one way or another, there is factionalism in big pharma. There are different vaccine companies jockeying for market share, for government advantage. And it's actually kind of interesting that not one has dominated. I suppose they've realized that they're more effective as a cartel than than any one of them would be as an individual monopoly for maintaining their overall power and the illusion of some kind of a market for development and drugs and things like that with big pharma. So there's a cartel of pharmaceutical companies that dominate this. And they're all trying to dominate the market share for the COVID vaccine, which is the hot new market in the medical industry. And they've got to be looking at each other's products, trying to come up with fear-mongering headlines about them. And I'm kind of looking forward to them all tearing each other apart. but there's a limit, right? They're not going to say, well, you shouldn't take that vaccine because it's only 50% effective. Well, ours was only 45, sir, so maybe we should mention that, well, their vaccine is addressing a virus that isn't really a threat that justifies their side effects. You go, well, you might not want to mention that because, neither does ours. But, their vaccine has bad side effects and ours is the safe one. There's going to be some of that game at least. But we don't need that because they're all shitty. All of these, like, there's not one that you're like, oh, that's the one being made by the honest people who care about your health. No, that vaccine is not a thing. CBS17.com with our next headline, national news. Another reason to just dismiss them. J&J faces more scrutiny after CEO's $30 million payday. Really, this is what it's about. Now, I'm not saying that, like, CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, if they're doing righteous work and providing value to people, shouldn't be making money. But is American? Are you profiting because you've done such a good job of improving Americans' health? No, it's because you've made money for the company and you've rigged it to profit yourself and your shareholders. The fight over Johnson & Johnson CEO Alex Gorksky's $30 million payday is heating up. The state of Illinois charitable organization Oxfam and several religious organizations have filed letters with the Securities Exchange Commission opposing his pay. Yeah, but like all the other CEOs and executives who are profiting off of this, that's fine. But this one in particular, we're going to go after this one. But yeah, background on J&J, pointed out in this article, has also set aside an additional $4 billion for litigation tied to claims that its talcum powder contained cancer-causing asbestos. The company maintains its products are safe and that any contaminations were isolated incidents. Yeah. All right. At issue is the fact that J&J paid out billions of dollars in legal settlements last year, including $4 billion cited its role in the nation's opioid epidemic. Yeah, those big pharmas. From Vice World News, a journalist got COVID and died live tweeting his wait for a hospital bed. Just thought you might want to hear about one new fear-mongering story. Wondering how that happened. But if you want to see that, link in the notes if you want all the details. Next, Let Them Play MN.org. Let Them Play Minnesota is a group that grew up to get kids out when the lockdowns and shutdowns restricted access to playgrounds and other sporting activities. So their headline is, Let Them Play exposes Governor Walz's strategy to blame kids for his policy failures. And I love this because it just so starkly exposes evidence demonstrating that Governor Walz attempted to blame kids and youth sports for deaths in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. That's it, LTC. That's the acronym, LTC, long-term care facilities. Internal Minnesota Department of Health Communications show its leaders knew youth sports were not dangerous, but Walz shut down sports and required masks in a mean-spirited attempt. You're doing this to kids, so you're a meanie. A mean-spirited attempt to tie youth sports to LTC deaths. Meanwhile, MDH epidemiologists admitted privately that they had no data showing that youth sports were responsible for the spread of COVID-19. As their executive director, Don Gilman, said, Governor Walz should be ashamed for fabricating claims that somehow nursing home deaths are the result of youth sports. For the past year, a generation of Minnesota kids has been harmed by the governor just to help cover up his failure to protect nursing home residents. You see, like, again, if any of this is justified, where's the balance? You don't find balance through centralized decision. It has to be decentralized, distributed, wisdom of the market, let people decide risks for themselves, and they have that right anyway. So next from USA Today, just to make sure that things stay absolutely hopeless, is herd immunity to COVID-19 possible? Experts increasingly say no. For almost a year, Americans have been looking forward to herd immunity. No, I've been looking forward to just get past flatten the fucking curve. It's been a year and a month, right? A year and a month and a week now since Trump announced 2 weeks to flatten the curve. When enough people are protected through vaccination or past infection to stop the spread of COVID-19. Remember, at some point we all decided like it wasn't worth the risk to say, or wasn't a dangerous enough virus to say we need to stop the spread. It was just no, we just need to flatten the curve. Once there, public officials have said masks won't be necessary and hugging and handshakes, not to mention gyms, bars, and indoor dining can return. But even as more than half of adult Americans have received at least one dose of vaccine and many others are protected by recent infections, health experts are moving away from the idea of reaching some magic number. because they want to keep it going. They just want, I mean, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease doctor, doesn't want to talk about herd immunity anymore, right? Because that would be how we take attention off of him. Rather than concentrating on an elusive number, let's get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we possibly can, he said at a White House briefing last week. Right. And with that, I am like just haven't had enough COVID vitamins this week. All right. That's all the misleading medical information we have for today. All right, we've got just a few minutes before we get to Aria DiMezzo joining us. Hopefully, she's available now. We tried to get her on earlier this week, had a little conflict with other stuff that was overwhelming her. Obviously, this case, having gone to jail and facing what she's dealing with now, understandable that at some point interviews just are like, yeah, not that important. But in honor of that, leading up to this, we have a big block of crypto news. Maybe we'll get to all of it before Aria. We'll see. But if not, we'll come back to it afterwards. But this is like we've been piling up Bitcoin news or crypto news we haven't gotten to over the week. So catching up, here we go. Bitcoin.com. News.bitcoin.com specifically. Federal Reserve Bank president says Bitcoin is clearly a store of value. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas president says Bitcoin is clearly a store of value, emphasizing the difference between cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies. He said the latter won't necessarily be a store of value. The president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, Robert Kaplan, talked about Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies Friday at the Texas A&M Bitcoin Conference 2021, hosted by Mays Business School. Firstly, Kaplan explained that he would distinguish between Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies. Quote, I would differentiate between a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and the discussions that are being had about digital currency, such as the digital yuan experiment in China, he described. He proceeded to explain that the challenge on Bitcoin is how widely it will be adopted, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas chief elaborated. Right now, it's clear it's a store of value. Now, let's point out, this is the guy talking about his competitor here, right? It's not the guy. There's a chairman. This is a president of a branch. So I'm not trying to make you think that this is the head of the Federal Reserve doing this. But this is clearly a top player on Team US dollar, the fiat currency by which we're all ripped off through the inflation tax, through which the police state and the surveillance state and the military-industrial complex are funded. Make no mistake about it, this is who we're talking about. So everything he's saying about Bitcoin is sort of like a concession or maintain credibility. You know, maybe there's some people in that position who are not completely evil, who have some benign intention, but beyond just maintaining some semblance of intellectual honesty. But saying right now it's clearly a store of value, it might be just him trying to demean it and keep it, Josh Long, buy crypto, guys, and then donate, right? It's as he continued, it obviously moves a lot in value. That may keep it from spreading too far as a medium of exchange and wide adoption, but that can change and that will evolve. The Fed bank chief also confirmed that he and his team, quote, have studied intensely and will keep studying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. He then talked about central bank digital currencies, emphasizing if you're worried about the value of underlying currency, digital currency is likely to be, for example, in China, tied to the value of the underlying, he detailed, adding that it's also a way of ease of payment, domestic payments first, getting money to where it's needed. In some cases, you could argue in China, it's a way to monitor flows, and then ultimately, how far will this go? And there's been speculation about global payments and the implications. And it is kind of interesting, just to step back for a second, the timing in this development, that technologically, there would naturally be a demand for a digitization is that the word of money that humanity would expect from governments and central banks, like and it's really already kind of a thing. And like, how much money do we move digitally as opposed to as paper cash, or and it's not quite a digital dollar, but it's effectively like, hey, you have an app on your phone and you can send money on a debit card, right? Like, and it's not a cash system. I get it. It's not a digital dollar, but it's got a lot of the functionality that we'd expect just because, hey, we all have fucking smartphones. And why are you making us use paper? Like banks would go out of business, right? But stepping it up to the digital dollar, that's happening now. And yet crypto happened, or at least Bitcoin was launched like how many years ago now? Like 15? What was the, I should know what's like the
15.
birthday of
It got
of
big
Bitcoin.
10 years ago.
What is
That was the
I need to know this. What is the birthday of Bitcoin? I think if we just say it like that, we'll get the data I'm looking for. What are we really celebrating? It was January 3rd, 2009, the Bitcoin network came into existence. So 2009, January 3rd, 2009. So we're at 12 years plus. But yeah, so we missed it. But, happy late 12th birthday to the Bitcoin blockchain this year. All right, so back to the Federal Reserve. As for the digital dollar, Federal Reserve Chairman, this is the head honcho now, Jerome Powell said in February that the Fed is actively studying the possibility of issuing a digital dollar. He emphasized that it is a very high priority project for the Fed. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology plan to unveil at least 2 prototypes of a digital dollar in the 3rd quarter of this year. And one way or another, as much as they try to hold on, it's very interesting to watch them losing their monopoly. They're losing the grip on crypto. Hey, we have a $20 super chat from Mike Freeman. Thank you very much. And a follow-up comment here. Okay, new week, new donation. Love you and the crew, the interviews, and all the assholes in the chat. Yeah, keep the assholes coming. Why not feed the trolls? I mean, if you don't feed the trolls, they starve off and die away, or starve away, would die off and go away and go somewhere they're being fed troll food, better troll food. Am I making myself make funnable enough of right now for the trolls? Yes, you're welcome, troll bait. But yeah, the trolls are entertained. If you don't feed them, they're not there to entertain you. Thank you very much, Mr. Freeman. From Forbes, serious crypto washout warning as massive $300 billion price flash crash suddenly tanks Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripples, XRP, and Cardano. Bitcoin and the wider cryptocurrency market, including Ethereum, Ripples, XRP, and Cardano, were hit by a sudden flash crash early Sunday morning, taking prices, though Elon Musk's fave crypto Dogecoin is holding steady. Of course, the Bitcoin price, which had this week been on a downward trend, by the way, this is from 4 days ago. The Bitcoin price, which had this week been on a downward trend towards $60,000 per Bitcoin, dropped more than 10% to just over $50,000. The Bitcoin price has since somewhat rebounded to trade around $55,000, but it remains some distance from its near recent $65,000 high. So let's see, what is Bitcoin.com? I should have mentioned the ticker when we were on that website just a minute ago here. Bitcoin, according to Bitcoin.com, is currently at $54,612.84. Bitcoin Cash, $942.64. Next, we go to USA Today as Bitcoin tumbles. Dogecoin fans want to make Doge Day happen on April 20, and it did. There was a rally with the price. So this is how it happened, with the price of Bitcoin slumping over the weekend. Fans of the popular spoof crypto Dogecoin are hoping to make April 20 Doge Day. Posts on sites like Twitter and Reddit are urging fans of Dogecoin to celebrate Doge Day by by buying up the digital coins based on a meme starring a Shiba Inu, a dog breed with a fox-like appearance. As of Monday morning, the price of Dogecoin was at 37 cents, up 24%, according to the digital currency exchange Coinbase. And what's interesting about this is that that makes the market cap something around like $53 billion. Does it say in this article what the market cap is? No, but it's I go to Coin Market Cap.
The market cap is 37.6 billion. The volume is 11.7 billion. Circulating supply is 129.3 billion.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mercedes, while you're here, any jokes you want to share we missed on COVID jokes for the comment contest?
I'll be back for that. You continue.
All right, she'll be back. MarketWatch.com, who's laughing now? Dogecoin's epic surge, creating overnight millionaires. Dogecoin soars more than 400% for the week. And it is funny. It is a joke. This is kind of like an NFT. This is like the first NFT, because I had Doge, I had like a few $100s worth, and I'm like, shit, I wish I could have held on to it. But is Doge is not even competing to be a functional or competitive cryptocurrency. It really is just, hey, well, this is funny. Cryptos are valuable, right? So why not this joke crypto? Shouldn't it go up in proportion? It's funny because I've actually used Doge as money. Like when we did the book bomb in New Orleans, we got a donation in Doge that I was like, well, I wish I could hold this, but I have to use this and exchange it for US dollars to spend here to support the book bomb, to justify your sponsorship donation. So I hope that we had some hand in blowing up Doge, keeping it on the map, I suppose, back in 2019 with the Big Easy book bomb. So there is a certain element of manipulation. So the street.com is up next with Elon Musk tweets and Dogecoin triples overnight. This and it's fun. I love it. I get the joke. I don't want to demean it, but I'm gonna be the negative Nancy here for a second. I have a slight concern that the Doge blowing up is a tulip mania element of crypto. And like even the NFTs thing, I have been down on NFTs. I'm down on paying money for art like that. I think it's done. There's so okay. Let me sidebar on like my art here philosophy of buying. Like I believe in buying art. I believe in supporting artists. I believe that some art should be super valuable, and at some point there's a diminishing return where it's a show of wealth and it's dumb and there's a lot of manipulation in the art world as well of people selling art back and forth to blow up its value, to take advantage of other people, to manipulate the art market when you talk about elite painters and things like that. And it's like, oh well, now we have the digital version. You can buy and own a piece of artwork, and it's like what, like a copyright? Like it's like I don't want to say I'm completely immune to sentimentalism. Like I collect the comic books, I've still got them somewhere, and it's like, yeah, I value that I have this icon of my childhood. If I had read some really cool comic and lost it, I can imagine paying a few $100s as an adult to want that comic book, right? That there's a certain value in the sentimentalism. But then $1 million for a fucking painting? How many starving artists could you sponsor with that money? Like what if you believe in art and appreciation of art, what kind of malinvestment is it to spend money at that level? So with NFTs, if it's people creating art and people want to encourage and sponsor artists and it's in that realm, okay, sure. But at some point it's a malinvestment, and I'm afraid that Dogecoin, as fun as it is, as much as I support it and crypto, like that it's grown out of control into a tulip mania kind of phenomena that may in the long run be detrimental to crypto. If a lot of people go, oh, I lost all my money in Dogecoin, you better be ready to lose all of it. And I hate to say this about crypto in general because I believe in it so wholeheartedly, but there has yet to be a single blockchain even stable enough that you can say, buy it and forget about it. Put your word wallet, your key passphrase, written on a piece of paper in a buried safe and forget about it. Because even Bitcoin itself, hypothetically, and I when I'm introducing people to crypto, I give this caveat that Bitcoin itself, then it could be abandoned in favor of Bitcoin Cash, in favor of Dogecoin, in favor of Ethereum. There are people who have been like Ethereum is successful because there are a lot of people who do believe in it at that level and say this should be the new dominant crypto. And will Bitcoin ever go to zero? No, it'll always have that NFT value of, I've got one Bitcoin and it was the first. And at one point it was worth $1 million there for a second, but now it's worth $1 because it's just a collector's item. At some point, that like, or here's the alternative, and there are Bitcoin maximalists. This is their belief, is that Bitcoin itself, the original first blockchain crypto, that will get us to the moon, that will be the only one humanity ever needs, that everything can be built on that Satoshi Nakamoto was the genius, and every other crypto is a shit coin and a waste of time. And I don't know. I mean, they could be right. They could be right. I think it comes down to a bit of a subjective market prediction at that point. But I don't know. And is Dogecoin going to be the one? Is Dogecoin going to have a hand in the practical market that develops in the next 5 to 10 years around crypto? Probably not. If I had to guess, I think it's, and everybody goes, well, how is this joke? I mean, if maybe the Bitcoin maximalists are right, and the Dogecoin joke coin will, Bitcoin is at 100,000, but you can buy a Doge for $1, and maybe that joke, continues for as long as money is relevant to humanity. But I kind of doubt it. You've been trolled. What do COVID and marijuana have in common? If you have either, you'll kill your grandma. Marijuana. You've been trolled already in the Producers Club, setting the bar high for the comment contest today. And it looks like we still have not heard. I just checked in with CJ. Don't see that the guest is ready. So who knows what maybe happened.
Actually, she'll be on in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, excellent. Well, then we'll just finish our crypto block here.
Yeah, go ahead and do that, and then we can go to comments and stuff.
All right, so here's the last Dogecoin story, I think. Dogecoin jumps 20% as crypto fans declare Doge Day. Yeah, that's how successful it was. As all the Dogecoins in circulation are now, this is where I got the number, are now worth more than $53 billion after fans declared April 20 Doge Day on social media with the aim of pushing the digital currency's value to new heights. Yeah. All right. So back to the NFTs though, because here's the thing. What does it mean to own an NFT? It's a digital collector's item. When you print it out and hang it on the wall, it's not even it's still replicable online exactly as you own it as the NFT. And there's so much. It very is it a scam? There are definitely a lot of scams around NFTs for sure. A lot of opportunists creeping up in this market. But is there, at very least, yes, I think we can safely say at very least, even if there's an honest thing in this, a sort of misplaced sentimentalism. And nothing makes crypto nerds more likely to waste money on misplaced sentimentalism than old porn. CNBC, Playboy payoff, NFT prospects drive stock surge for reinvented nude magazine publisher. That's how big NFTs are. Just the prospects of NFTs and being able to monetize Playboy's archives is leading to their stock price going up. There's so much money moving around NFTs. I gotta believe a big chunk of it's just a scam. Really rich people in the crypto sphere sort of having a laugh, maybe a prank on the rest of us, and or trying to rip us off, moving some money back and forth, going, I'll bet we can make NFTs a thing, right? Yeah. The red hot market for non-fungible tokens or NFTs has piqued interest in Playboy as it monetizes its vast collection of nude centerfolds and artwork. Playboy, which went private in 2011 amid declining ad sales from its eponymous nude magazine, rejoined the public markets in February via a SPAC, SPAC. Playboy and Nifty Gateway, a platform for the sale and purchase of NFTs, will work together to create original artwork based on the magazine's art. Playboy stock is up 83% this month alone, and 173% since the end of February. Now, I'm all about new creative monetization, and people, to the people making porn, I think a lot of us can say, and I think I speak for a lot of people in saying, you can stop. there's enough out there. There's enough variety. Like you can just stop making porn. We're good, right? But now they're taking old porn, monetizing it with NFTs, and somehow that's supposed to create a new market. At very least, we're talking about people who are bad at jerking off or have some weird proclivities. I don't know. Maybe nude art is your thing, but even then, like, and you want to motivate Playboy or incentivize them to release their archives, high resolution, whatever, to create new art. Maybe NFTs is the way that the market expresses the preference for that they want to see that. But I can't imagine that there's some special value other than overvalued sentimentalism going with this. And the amount of money here is it really is crazy. And that we went with that we can look at Playboy as a company as an example of this. That I want to see what's it actually worth. But you can see that they went 173% since the end of February. So here are the actual raw numbers to put this in scale. During 2020, Playboy brought in $148 million in sales, representing an 89% increase in revenue from 2019, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. No, that's because of the COVID-19 pandemic. You shut down people's sex lives. You have a lot of angry young men on the internet with too much time on their hands. Its fourth quarter sales of $46 million were more than double what it brought in the year prior. Playboy Chief Financial Officer Lance Barton, who spent 7 years at Tinder Parent Match Group, expects Playboy to do $200 million in sales this year as its direct-to-consumer businesses in sexual wellness, style, and apparel accelerate. So it's not just NFTs. Playboy's, branching out in other ways. Cohen, the CEO, said in March's earnings call that licensing Playboy's intellectual and artistic property in the NFT space could be huge in the long term, quote. And so I think it's going to be a combination of leveraging the archives and the art collection, commissioning and working with emerging artists today for new works, a combination thereof, and then those great talent relationships we have with influencers and with a whole host of creative community where we can also create NFTs and other digital collectibles with them. Now, I don't know. Like I personally, I'm like, yeah, I want it. Yeah, okay, yeah, I like naked ladies. Like, I want to see old Playboys dressed up and prettied up and cleaned up and digitized, and maybe some new, like if they put out some art collection, I'll pay to see it. Maybe if I had some interest in that, I don't. If I had some kind of interest in that kind of artwork, I may buy some posters and frame them on the wall. But does that justify this kind of hype on the sales? I think that the expansion of the branding is more important, into that other sexual wellness and promoting sexual health and the sexual enlightenment revolution that humanity is going through right now, rather than monetizing porn sentimentalism. In February, an animated GIF. I'll say both just to be safe, of Nyan Cat, a 2011 meme of a flying Pop-Tart cat sold for more than $500,000. Just a few weeks later, musician Grimes sold some of her digital work on Nifty Gateway for more than $6 million. The token market isn't restricted to the traditional art mediums either. Twitter's founder, Jack Dorsey, for example, who I don't trust, of course he'd be doing some manipulative shit like this. Maybe he's behind this whole thing. Twitter's founder, Jack Dorsey, for example, sold his first tweet as an NFT for over $2.9 million. Probably to an unknown buyer. Yeah, he sold it to himself. Oh, it's worth, well, look at me. My first tweet is worth $2.9 million. Yeah. What asshole with 2. And like, really, think about this. What misguided, misplaced value this represents. They're like, hypothetically, there was a dude sitting around, or chick, with $2.9 million. Someone had $2.9 million and said, you know what? Rather than me take this 2.9, think about what that could do for charity, for humanity, for your community, what that could do for your own life and like material wealth, that you could buy a $2.9 million house. Rather than me buying a $2.9 million house or giving that money to charity, Jack Dorsey should have that money and I should own his first tweet as an NFT. Like, what's it, bragging rights? You're gonna go to parties and introduce yourself as like, I also have Jack Dorsey's first tweet in my art collection of NFTs. Would you like to see it? It's on the wall. It's what? Oh, you printed it out now. It's on the wall. Oh, well, no, there's a hard drive there. It's really, really, no, no. I don't buy it. You know, and I get that there's like with Playboy, with their archives, creating NFTs, monetizing that. Okay, maybe NFTs is the way to do that, but along with the exorbitant valuation of fine art at art auctions, or for the elite famous artists of the world paying $1 million for paintings. No, sorry, bullshit. Don't buy it. I don't buy the NFT craze any more than that. All right, well, we're waiting for Aria. Let's get Mercedes on screen here. That's our COVID block and our crypto block, and we do have some serious international news to get to. If Aria's going to be a while, we should get into that, or just we're going to have to skim it just so we get it out of the way on Thursday. Mercedes.
Yes. So for the comment contest, first, actually comment on the printing things out for lots of money things. I have printed out memes and framed them. I am one of those weirdos, but I don't know if I'd pay for it unless it was for a good benefit. Is just my point I want to make. So as far as the comment contest goes, You've Been T-Rolled is gatekeeping today, and he's so far, he's the winner. I'm sorry. I know we're only halfway through, but
COVID
y'all.
Jokes. He's got jokes.
Oh my God, he's got jokes for days. And I'm here for that forever. And Moose Girl is being nice to me, which I need right now because I'm a sad bitch.
His jokes about COVID are so sick, the CDC will say you died from them.
They'll censor it first, though. Anyway, titty trading cards. Honestly, we should get some freedom titty trading cards and do libertarian ladies titty cards, because that's what you do when you want to market sex things and boobs.
I don't know. I've seen different attempts at this, and it's like a fun side thing, but I don't think that's what we're selling.
I'm very wholesome. Even on my OnlyFans, I'm going to get murdered for being a tease. That's how I feel on my OnlyFans. And that's just how it is, because there is enough porn on the internet. And with them archiving the old stuff, like some of that old tape porn, mint. Fucking mint. Some of that old porn. Because I'm a porn connoisseur, being a sex worker. Anyway, back to
investing in art. So about what you said though, about being willing to pay, print out memes and pay for them, or hypothetically, but you wouldn't want to sort of own the digital rights to them or pay some silly amount like it's some fine piece of art for that. I want to just say that there's a sort of smart kind of investing or social investment in art that we are doing so badly. And NFTs are not doing it better; it's doing it worse.
They're setting up the framework to do it better.
Well, so I want a society that values art, that promotes art, that devotes resources to art, and that the resources are sort of invested smartly. And there's a couple. This is like getting away from intellectual property. Instead of focusing on the last idea, focus on the next idea. Instead of buying a painting for $1 million, sponsor 10 painters to live for a year and get to do whatever they want for $100,000 each. Really, which is a better investment in art for humanity? There's no fucking comparison. And so, even to your point about stuff you want to print out, tip jars and commissioning projects through GoFundMe, that's future-oriented art production as opposed to past-oriented. And part of my objection, just sort of viscerally, to NFTs is that it's like owning a copyright for something. Yeah. It's sort of like focusing on past art. I want to throw a tip jar, throw money in a tip jar to show appreciation for an artist, to encourage them to do something again or to create more, and show appreciation for their past work. I want to sponsor the creation of art, and I want to buy art that encourages the creation of art. And maybe this is me, I'm crude, but like, sorry, do I really, am I gonna find a better $1,000 painting for my taste than $1 million painting based on some weird rich people's taste in art? Yeah, like if I even had $1,000 to buy a paint, I'd say that's too much.
I definitely support local artists. Our community does as a whole. Like we have art in the park. We have lots of local festivals where local artists can take their artwork out and sell it. Like I have my sister's an artist. She owned a paint and wine shop here for briefly until actually she sold right before COVID. So she got out right before it the market tanked for that kind of industry. And her art is hanging in my house and I wouldn't sell it for $1 billion. I'm sorry. One, she gave it to me. Two, it's priceless. Art is priceless. And like, should artists be compensated in our current system because people like money? Yes, they should, because they deserve to live. In a perfect world, in an artist's world, we wouldn't need money. We would live off love, but we can't live off love.
CJ has a poignant question for me here.
Oh yes, what is
in the Producers Club? He said, if someone wanted to buy the first Adam versus the Man episode #1 for $2.9 million as an NFT, then would you support it? I still would not support it. I would take the money, I would accept it, but I would not support it. I would support it as a donation, right? And I would say, like, hey, if to satisfy your sentimentalism and you want to donate $2.9 million to Adam versus the Man, I'm gonna, like, what am I gonna do with that money? I'm gonna spend it on Adam versus the Man. I'm gonna,
you're gonna invest
get my dream studio, promotion, staff, and all of that, and use this to reach more people, because this is activism. So I would take it. So someone writes in reply there, and I think someone else who's got admin in Producers Club, because it's come out of his. That's not how NFTs work. They would own the first episode outright. It's CJ.
Whatever.
No, I get it. You could own it. I would give up if you're saying like you own the IP and no one else can use, but it's out there. Like you can't stop people from finding it and listening to it. So no, I really don't care.
Well, technically, if they own it and own the rights, they could make it so no one ever could listen to it ever again. Yeah, if they owned it outright, yes, they could lock it away in a little vault on the internet and completely remove it forever, and put it in a little place in a vault somewhere in like the blockchain, and it could potentially be lost data.
No, owning NFTs does not automatically give you copyright claim. I could still be the copyright holder and create, as far as government is concerned, and hand an NFT that is the non-fungible token of the one audio file that is episode #1 or video, whatever, of Adam versus the Man. They could own that NFT. But even if they did, even if it was for the intellectual property, like I'll say this right now, because I trust that anybody who would donate significantly to Adam versus the Man, would. Yeah, there's
you're such
the
a
first
baby.
TV version. Oh, with that TV studio
you could have put that on
MTV. I look so weird.
Your brows are so cut. You look orange.
Yeah. Well, part of it's like that super red studio we were in.
What year was this?
That was 2011.
I've never seen this. Yeah. Oh, you look like a baby. I love these times. This is a time capsule.
Turn it off. Turn it off, CJ.
I love it though. That was awesome. Anyway,
well, I mean, in some ways, I want to get back to that production level that we had for that 30-minute show with this and a 2-hour show. And when we get to that level of resource, like that's part of what we're doing with the studio here and building this out eventually. Stop, CJ, make it stop. Okay, that's the old intro to Adam versus the Man.
I'm so glad I was not on the internet.
If someone has, sentimentalism about me, and I mean, it's sort of like Adam versus the Man is activism, Twitter is a business. If you pay $2.9 million for Jack Dorsey's first tweet and you're like, well, I'm sentimental about the first thing on Twitter, and like it's meaningful for me to own that and support it, but like the money, Jack Dorsey's made enough money, but if someone wanted to do that and there's sentimentalism for my efforts or my creations, which would all be within the realm of activism, I might feel some obligation to say I'm going to take this as a donation and make sure that it all gets reinvested back into activism operations.
Yeah, that's the only way I can take money for anything I sell.
I would still take it. And it's sort of like, here's the comparison, like, because people have offered to sell my autograph, and I always feel weird about that because I love doing book signings at events and just signing books and giving them away for free, and it's thank yous, and it's not a big deal, and like my book's
I
cheap
love
to
free
print.
books.
You know, like, so I love, but people said, Adam, we're going to take a signed copy of your book and auction it off for $100, and it's like,
What's it going for?
because it's sort of like, if you're sentimental, you're not getting my message. You know, I don't want to say you're not libertarian, and I don't want to say sentimentalism is inherently anti-libertarian. But if you're saying, oh, Adam, I'm going to pay $1,000 for this sign that you held up at, you know, the Obama inauguration in 2008 because, you know, it was on the news and you were so cool with that sign, and, you know, I want to hang that on my wall. I'm going to buy your sign, and be like, okay.
See, I'd sell your book if I got the right price for it. If it was going to, like, if the person was, like, if the money, if I could put it towards the right cause, I would definitely sell your book if I could donate it to, like, end the Fed.
No,
Like,
so
putting money where it goes.
as a fun mechanism to play sentimentalism as a fun mechanism for donations, I'm okay with that. But if someone, so here's what would piss me off, right? If someone bought the NFT of episode number 1 for $2.9 million, that would be, I'd be like, okay, I'll take it. But if they sold it to someone else for $5 million, I'd be like,
now you're profiting.
Now
he's profiting. You know, unless of course that difference is donated to said cause, whatever, and then you're just kind of Ponzi scheming the same product and inflating the value of freedom.
See, so like a poster, a one-of-a-kind physical, like I actually have the banner that I held up at the Obama inauguration that says, "Occupation is still a crime." It's got the O as the Obama campaign logo. And then on the other side, what did it say? It was shit. I should remember this now if I'm trying to sell it, right? No, I'm not trying to sell it, but it said occupation is still a crime. And it with the Obama O for the O in occupation.
Do not run with the sucker in your mouth.
And like, I can't, if someone wanted to buy that, but I like it. I'm sentimental. I want that. Like, I don't want to pretend like I'm better than anybody or like, immune to sentimentalism, you know?
Something that made me mad last year is I was making masks for people that were immunocompromised that still had to go out into public when COVID was actually making people sick. And somebody got free masks for me. I found out they sold them. And then asked me for more free masks so that they could just keep profiting off of my labor for free. I was very, very salty. I actually stopped making masks because of that. Do not run with the sucker in your mouth. Anyway, Adam.
All right. Well, while we're still waiting for Aria, I'll be watching the Producers Club.
Okay.
Let's get into our grab bag.
So he did just say he did just try to call Aria and she didn't answer. So I don't know what's going on, but.
All right. Well, let's cover some headlines. Keep the COVID jokes coming.
Okay, bye.
Guardian.com, theguardian.com. Violence erupts as Mexico's deadly gangs aim to cement power in largest ever elections. Clashes have sparked political assassinations and the forced displacement of thousands ahead of Crunch 6 June polls. Violent clashes between rival Mexican criminal groups and their alleged allies in the security forces are escalating ahead of midterm elections in June, triggering a string of political assassinations and the forced displacement of thousands. State and federal security forces have actively colluded with and even fought alongside the warring factions, according to local civilian, civil society activists, and gunmen from various factions. And it's funny, I hate every time a drug war story like this comes up now, I'm like, I've been watching Narcos lately. And it's like, yeah. And it was just over the last few months, I went through the first 4 seasons of Narcos. And it's a Netflix series that's sort of historical drama that tells in season 1 the story of the Medellin cocaine cartel in Colombia, and then season 2 the Cali cartel, and then I'm really simplifying this, but then season 3 and 4 Narcos Mexico, the story of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, and what you see some of these dynamics of these major cartels. I mean, Pablo Escobar at one point was like the 7th richest person in the world, with, because his net worth, and it was all from cocaine, and it was clear, like the world knew, people, it wasn't contested. That's what it was, but he was from moving cocaine from Colombia to the United States. So when I hear stories like this now, it's like, oh, they make a lot more sense to me because I have this background understanding of the dynamics. They don't explain this to you in school. It's like, hey, in our government school, let's tell you how the drug war works and how well it's going. Like, they don't explain to you that these are like basic dynamics of when you create a black market for drugs, you're going to create these like fountains of money. Like if cocaine had never been made illegal in the first place, there would have been an open competitive market, and yeah, there might have been competition, there might have been people making it, but you would be making it in why you make it in jungles and covert labs in the first place? Why have independent security that can get away with violent competition? It's not a thing if it's not a black market. They've been moving cocoa leaves to warehouses or pharmaceutical kind of food processing plants to turn it into cocaine, and it would be shipped to your container ships, and there would be no violence around it, and there'd be money to be made, but no fountain of money. Like, why? Like, we've done this math with cannabis, even like with cannabis right now. Joey and I, and Joey, both of us have a pretty decent handle on the market for cannabis nationally in the United States right now. Her more so than me, and the sort of common retail price for an ounce of cannabis now. I mean, you paid $60 for an eighth recently. Yeah. Six times 8, that's 48. That's $400 and $480 an ounce. Now, you actually pay for an ounce never more than about $300 retail in the United States now, right? That's fair. But we see in wholesale, there's still a huge markdown. That kind of gap is not true with any other market. It's with the instability and the legal liability that drives up the price and makes it more expensive to take from production to retail.
Plus the regulation.
Plus the regulation, the compliance, the taxes, right? But even with cannabis sort of as legal as it is, there's the federal liability and there's the instability in the market that we don't. Okay, so okay, so CJ's pulled up. Average cost, 1 ounce of medium quality marijuana. National average is $265.58 as of September 15, 2020. Might have actually gone up a little bit now with the flooding of stimulus money. And we've actually seen this even in retail in Arizona. So September 15, 2020, we're probably right on there, and that's medium. G.I. Mary Jane smokes good weed, okay? All right, so our standards are, but but even then we can look at this and go, well, wholesale, weed comes down to $100 an ounce right now. And if you think about, and I've grown weed, I've visited enough grow ops, sort of medium scale, warehouse size grow ops in California and Colorado and Washington State, and you can see that like just to grow good quality weed is really pretty cheap. Like, should it be $100 an ounce? Or should it be $300 an ounce at retail? Fuck no. Should it be $100 an ounce even at wholesale? No. Like, what does it really cost ultimately to produce? When we get to that scale, we get to a stabilized industry. If we get it, like, and I know it should be cheaper than or more legal than growing tomatoes, but if we get it on par with that for tax, regulation, overhead burden, like, what's the actual cost wholesale of producing an ounce of even high grade cannabis? Like $20-$30 an ounce. I mean, that's what it should be. You should be able to, like, within 5 to 10 years, I'll make this prediction, you will retail be able to buy a quality ounce of marijuana for $50. And the only reason it's not, assuming in today's dollars, I should say, right? Caveats to this, like in today's dollars, because that's what it should be. That's what it'll come down to. And the demand is there to drive that market development.
Do you think the government would allow that, though? They didn't allow that with alcohol or tobacco. Those
Well,
things could be
no, what is
cheaper.
yeah, but even then, the price of alcohol, how much is it inflated? Not that much. What are you looking at now, CJ? What was the top of that list? Starts with the price of seeds. No, because
price per gram.
okay, but a gram price. I don't think that's as relevant. I like price per ounce, but it might be price per gram that's more relevant because Joey and I did this math too last night. That if you think what would the average American actually consume for cannabis? Like at most, average American an eighth per month, like that, and that's a lot. That's like, the average American sort of wine consumption. It might be similar to that, and that accounts for most people, or at least half the population, kind of never regularly using, and heavy users, averaged in there. You price that out with today's prices, and you go, well, yeah, if you extrapolate that, fuck, this is a multi-trillion-dollar market in the making. You go, no. By the time it gets that big, the price per ounce and the margins are going to come down so low that you just like cannabis. Yeah, it's just another plant that we grow, and it's kind of a special thing, and we harvest it a certain way, and we care about the terpenes and making sure it's organic and delivered with blah 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 blah, and packaging. But packaging is going to be like wine, packaging and delivery and distribution and promotion is going to be more of that price per bottle than the actual cost of producing an ounce of cannabis. So yeah, I think it's a pretty safe prediction that within 10 years, you're going to be able to get a quality $50 ounce of weed, and that's like a month's supply for a heavy user. Right.
I believe that. I mean, there's some markets where you can already do that. You can get an $80 quality ounce in a legal market in some states.
Well, you think too, even today, what does it cost to be like right now? What does that cost to do an ounce a month? It costs you $300. That's a chunk of money, right? And then it comes down to $50 for a month's supply. And even alcohol at its base cost of production, per not per ounce, but per effect, per high, per buzz, per regular amount of usage, is still way more expensive. Like, and today you could say, how much does it cost to be, bathtub vodka alcoholic, right? Say you could be an alcoholic on $5 a day. You too can sponsor an alcoholic for just $5 a day, even at American prices. But right now, I mean, if you bought alcohol like in the cheapest handles possible, you could be a barely alcoholic for $5 a day. Like you'd be like a stoner for an ounce a month, right? You'd be going through. You'd be like your life overwhelmed with being stoned or being drunk, right? I'm not comparing health benefits. I'm just sort of general market potential here. Right. And you can do that. So 5 times 30, 600, or wait, 1,500, $150 a month, 30 days, $5 a day with alcohol, with bathtub vodka, right? That's $150 a month. And that's with government prices. So like if that came in, and alcohol couldn't come down that much, maybe 50%, without government regulation, without taxes, without all the bullshit that alcohol has to deal with in overhead today. Alcohol should be cheaper a lot by a significant amount.
Totally.
But cannabis is eventually going to be like insignificant. You have whatever weed you want, be stoned all the time for $50 a month.
You hit the nail right on the head with the uncertainty of the market. Like all the dispensaries and grows just went off the basic black market price. So it's as if there was no math or research involved. Like, we're just going to go with this because it's safe. It's what people want to pay on the streets.
No, it's because it's what they can get away with, and what now we're at the level of competition where competition is driving prices down between dispensaries overall, and they're competing with the black market in the production. But the uncertainty that we're coming out of. And this is a big part of what I think of as the beginning of the middle of the end of the war on drugs. The middle of the end of the war on drugs, this transition period, is one where major investment money goes into cannabis with the idea that they're not creating pop. It's not, hey, let's grow weed in this quasi-legal gray zone until Philip Morris takes over and we'll make a lot of money in a few years and get out. Now it's not Philip Morris, but it's craft growers. It's like wineries, right? Like you have like craft breweries. That's what cannabis is going to evolve into, and you'll be able to pay $300 for an ounce if you want like some super fancy special stuff, but like that's still gonna last you a long time. And we're already at this point where, yeah, weed's pretty cheap. It's there. It's like if you can be a stoner for $300 a month today, and you be an alcoholic for $300 a month today, double alcoholic by what we calculated, right? It's on par, but really by the actual base cost of production should continue to come way down. And so it's funny, without that, like none of this would exist. These back to the point of the drug gangs, this fountain of money that was like billions of dollars in potential cocaine profits, like that would not have existed without prohibition. But the people who are willing to go and reach out and touch that fountain of money while it's like still hot, it's drug money, like they're able to, and that's what's created the rise of the violence and everything else around the drug war. And there's, people who sell drugs aren't drug sellers. Like the drug, last time I talked to my drug dealer, I didn't get any deals. I was not allowed to do any dealing or negotiating. There was no bargaining involved. They're not so much a drug dealer as a drug seller. But you know what? What's the service they're really providing? Risk mitigation. You don't have to make drugs yourself. You can have them delivered, and you can buy drugs from a dealer. You can go and pick them up. You don't have to carry them around in quantity. You can carry just enough for yourself for right now and keep a low liability. And they're taking on that liability. This is what's built into the price of drugs, is that risk management. All right, now to the really crazy shit in our grab bag. Daily Star: horror as Buddhist monk chops off head with guillotine for good luck in afterlife. Buddhist monk Thamakorn Wangtricha, 68, allegedly placed a makeshift guillotine beside a statue so it looked like the religious figure was holding his severed head. Yeah, and that's all there is to that story. I'm not going to repeat it.
That's metal.
Daily Star. That is so fucking metal. Daily Star: Mexico's violent Jalisco new generation drug cartel drops bombs on cops in drone attack. I think I meant to put these stories together. I didn't mean to go like drug war, monk, drug war. Yeah, but the drones, like the drug. See, this is what's going to push cops into having drones. And it's sort of like this weird, like, because I've said, I want cops to have laser guided drones to drop cargo nets, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But if it's like, and I made this comparison, and this was, kind of an epiphany for me, that when police are going around shooting people, it's like a Civil War doctor coming in and going, we have to amputate the leg, we can't save it, and just chopping, walking into a hospital, and you go, well, no, we have modern medicine, why the fuck are you doing this? But we don't see that when it comes to law enforcement. So but they're using drones now. Mexico's powerful Jalisco new generation cartel, and by the way, it's like the acronym that they use I think it sounds really cool in Spanish. CNJC, it's CJNG. It's funny because I speak Spanish, but I don't know how to say the alphabet in Spanish, because you don't do that, right? Say ha n n k. Mercedes, you want to help me out here? How do you pronounce?
I mean, I can't actually.
CJNG in Spanish or in Mexican vernacular really fast.
Well, is there a tilde after an N? And
no,
can I
it's
see
not,
it?
No, it's just
I can't.
flat.
I'm sticky from sucker.
It's for Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generación.
There you go. Just say it like that. It's prettier anyway.
No, but they've got it down to CJNG. How do you say that?
Well, C is say, N is enye. What was the other two?
Even without an enye over it, the letter
N
is
enye. Enye.
A,
B, C, D, E, F, A, H.
Okay, so say CJNG really fast.
I can't. I don't speak Spanish. You speak Spanish. I do not. Just because you don't know. J. I don't know. I'm white. All right.
I'm sure it sounds way cooler in Spanish. I think they giggle every time gringos are like, the Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generación.
I have failed my father. He lets me know every time he yells at me in Spanish. I understand it. I just cannot read.
All right, back to the high-tech fight. Bloodthirsty Mexican drug rings have begun using high-tech methods to take the fight to police, according to the latest reports out of Central America. Mexico's powerful Jalisco new generation cartel reportedly used 2 rigged drones to drop explosives on police who had been tasked with clearing a road to the city of Agalia in Michoacan. The cartel, which is quickly becoming Mexico's most powerful drug syndicate following the fall of El Chapo, is understood to have tried to block the city to stop military access. Now, in good news on the drug war, Schumer on 420, bill coming to end federal marijuana prohibition. And I know it's Chuck Schumer, it's bullshit, it's political promises. But again, better flavor of bullshit, right? And this is what they have to say now at the federal level. Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer said on Tuesday that a group of senators working on legislation to end the federal prohibition on marijuana is aiming to have draft legislation in the near future. As he said, what you might call a very unofficial American holiday, 420. Like, yeah, thanks, Grandpa. Senators Booker, Wyden, and I are going to continue to work on our legislation, and in the near future, we hope to have a draft of a comprehensive reform effort. So it's going to be slow. It's going to be gradual. It might be a year before we see the first major step, and it might be just, hey, let's set up a commission to consider rescheduling cannabis, maybe. Like, and that's it. Like, that's and then it's another 2 years for the next Congress before, again, this is that trajectory of government rackets. They're in the phase of letting go of it as slowly as possible. But good news, we do see at least a baby step, meaningful from the Capitol. The Hill House passes cannabis banking bill. The House passed a bill on Monday that would allow banks and financial institutions to work with cannabis businesses. Now, this is a double-edged sword. It's not all good news because it's sort of good news for, cannabis entrepreneurs who want to be able to bank and have their money securely held at banks rather than seeking alternative means. But the alternative, if you force them out, then, hey, they're going to be using more crypto and, they're going to be challenging the banking cartel. And that's worse. And part of it is, hey, we'll let you guys keep your money with us. Yeah, and so we get our cut. And so the sort of legitimization of cannabis businesses means, well, government gets to tax them more. And that's always, I don't want to say a reason to oppose, legalization as opposed to just straight decriminalization. No, these are all measures of progress. And this is not an insignificant one. Next, good news that was shared through our producers club, Manga Bay. You don't get a lot from Manga Bay. Landmark decision. Brazil Supreme Court sides with indigenous land rights. Brazil Supreme Court, STF, has unanimously accepted an appeal by the Guarani Kiowa indigenous people and agreed to review the process around a past case that canceled the demarcation of their indigenous territory. The Guarani Kiowas' decades-long fight for land rights to their ancestral territory, the Guairaroca land in Mato Grosso do Sul state had been suspended by a 2014 ruling halting the territory's demarcation process. And just gradual process of, the crimes of the past being at least slowly righted, although more being committed today as well in immigration. We have a couple stories there. The Washington Post, ICE, CBP, that's the Immigration Control and Enforcement and Customs and Border Patrol, because we need more three-letter acronyms. TLAs for our federal government, to stop using illegal alien and assimilation under new Biden administration order. Because that's what was wrong with immigration policy, the words that we were using. The Biden administration has ordered U.S. immigration enforcement agencies to stop using terms such as alien, illegal alien, and assimilation when referring to immigrants into the United States, a rebuke of terms widely used under the Trump administration. So instead, they will say non-citizen or migrant, illegal will become undocumented, and assimilation will change to integration. So, meanwhile, politics from Bloomberg, Biden clashes with his allies in Supreme Court green card case. Administration fights permanent residency for illegal entrants. Opponents include Democratic lawmakers with arguments Monday. So, wait, the Biden administration is saying, well, we're not going to deny illegal aliens entry into the country or status. We're going to deny undocumented people access. We're not going to lock up alien children in cages. We are going to detain undocumented youths so that they won't be assimilated, but they will be integrated. No, there's still kids in cages at the border, and that's why we get the next headline from the Wall Street Journal. And yes, there's a lot of political pandering involved in this. Arizona governor declares state of emergency at border. That's right. Republican Doug Ducey says state will deploy 250 National Guard troops, blames Biden for surge in illegal crossings. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey declared a state of emergency at the southwest border in Arizona and said the state would deploy 250 National Guard troops to help local law enforcement. And yeah, I'll skip the opportunity to rant on freedom of movement so we can skim some more headlines today, shall we? The Hill Supreme Court declines to take up 3 gun ownership cases. The Supreme Court on Monday denied appeals from 3 people who sought to have their right to own guns reinstated after being convicted of nonviolent crimes, a move that disappointed gun rights advocates. The denials, which were issued without comment or noted dissent, left intact lower court rulings that found that the lifetime bans did not run afoul of Second Amendment protections. One case involved a Pennsylvania man who sought to have his right to own a firearm restored after he was subjected to a lifetime ban following a misdemeanor conviction for DUI in 2005.
Wow.
DUI 16 years ago. Nope, you don't have a right to defend yourself. I actually sort of want to be sympathetic with the paradigm of government having to manage, like, who should be denied the right to own a firearm. And in a sense, it's sort of like, yeah, hey, you, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to let you out in society, but you can't own a gun, because if you do something again, we're going to lock you up because you're a threat. You know, like, yeah, okay, yeah. If someone is committing crimes with victims as a violent threat for the same safety reason that you should forcibly detain someone who is a violent threat to others, you should forcibly disarm people who are a violent threat to others. Now, under what circumstances? It has to be due process. It has to be because they've made themselves a threat. If there's not an immediate threat in process that justifies the use of force against someone or violating their rights, you better meet those fucking criteria. And what they're saying, what the Supreme Court has said is like, meh, no, 2005 DUI, sure, you can deny him gun rights for that. Well, fortunately, technology, hopefully we'll get air guns that will make this whole firearms thing irrelevant. But then government will pass a law and say that includes blah, blah, blah. But again, it's not a good way of managing risk or providing for public safety. CBS News, weird little story. I don't know if there's something else behind this. We might be hearing about this later, but CBS News, Indonesian submarine with 53 on board goes missing during torpedo drill. Yeah, and that's about it. The German-built KRI Nanggala 402 had been scheduled to do live torpedo exercises when it asked for permission to dive early Wednesday morning. The defense minister said after permission was given according to the procedure, the submarine lost contact and could not be reached. From USNI News, AFRICOM, Chinese naval bases in Africa set to support African carriers. Yes, the Chinese empire expanding into Africa, the new state of colonization in the world. Interesting to see it happen in the digital era, with China being the superpower taking over from the United States, while at the same time, Africa experiencing a wave of terrorism. Gee, I wonder what's behind that, with Boko Haram, ISIS in Africa, similar militant groups. Meanwhile, they're leapfrogging the United States and a lot of the first world towards digital currencies because cell phones were more practical when they were trading minutes as currency. So very interesting to see what's going to be happening with Africa over the next decade, as well as those dynamics play out. From Bloomberg, screen time, those annoying loud TV commercials to get scrutiny from the FCC. Oh yeah, because we can trust the government to moderate the airwaves in everybody's interest. FCC asks public to comment on need for updating regulations. Complaints are increasing over violations of 2010 U.S. law. Yeah, well, if you want to bitch to the government, you can now complain to the FCC. One of our members of the Producers Club was actually at this event in Nebraska, Nebraska.tv. 200 people met to discuss the effects of a national heritage area in Nebraska. More than 200 people met in Hebron on Thursday night. This is last Thursday, obviously. Oh, no, it was even longer. Excuse me. This is a story from April 8th we didn't get to. It just got shared with us in the Producers Club about how a potential national heritage area could affect their private lands. As someone who's experienced what a national heritage area can do firsthand, Norman Kincaid told the group of people that proposed 30 by 30 plan is a danger to everything those in northern Kansas and southern Nebraska know. Kincaid claims that while the 30 by 30 plan appears to be of benefit in conserving the nation's land and water system, he said it's also an attempt to control agriculture. So interesting to see how this plays out just at the meeting phase. So we'll stay up to date on this and other related issues. If you want to see them covered on Adam versus the Man, I am interested, and I think it's important to see how these kinds of land use issues are playing out. And where do you get 200 community members to come and go, yeah, let's take a look at this before you go ahead with it? I think that's really exciting to see now, especially, hey, if people are out of work and living on government benefits, well, a lot of us have the opportunity to engage in the luxury indulgence of activism, right? Wall Street Journal Manhattan District Attorney ends prostitution prosecutions. Maybe we should have saved that's a mouthful of a headline, isn't it? We really should have saved this for Good News Friday. DA's move follows New York State's repeal earlier this year of an anti-prostitution loitering statute known as the Walking While Trans ban. Next up, LeBron James faces backlash over your next tweet about Ohio police officer. Yeah, LeBron James accused of inciting violence with your next tweet targeting Ohio police officer. LA Lakers superstar LeBron James faced intense backlash Wednesday over a now deleted tweet targeting a Columbus, Ohio police officer involved in the shooting death of 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant. And I watched this one. We're going to be hearing more about this. Basically, we covered this yesterday. It was a girls in a knife fight, right? Or a girl lunging at another girl. And people around. I mean, he almost shot the victim. I watched the video footage this morning because they released it. They said, and this was, oh man, this was Tuesday, right at the time the George Floyd verdict was being read. It was literally 4:32 p.m. The verdict, the court was called in session at 4:30. And these officers got called to the scene in Ohio. And no, it was not a justified shooting. It would have been a justified forcible intervention, but to shoot into a vehicle amid a crowd of people with two people in a struggle with a knife, and again, what kind of pussy doesn't have thinks I'm going to be a cop and carry a gun around, and I'm not going to be able to jump in and intervene in two teenage girls in a knife fight without having to pull my gun. But just pull the fucking taser. Pull the fucking taser. Let's have a drone drop a cargo net and pepper spray the whole crowd of them. Like, fuck it, don't hurt anybody. Why is this so hard? So NBCnews.com. Oh, sorry, this should have been our COVID block. Trump administration awarded a firm $1.3 billion to make COVID vaccine syringes. Where are the syringes? Who cares? We got the money. Yahoo News. And this one we're going to come back to next week because there's more to this story. The Postal Service is running a covert operations program that monitors Americans' social media posts. Yeah. Sorry, can't skim that one. Next, France24.com. Kremlin downplays a pro-Navalny rallies after nearly 1,800 detained. Hey, you know those rallies where we detained thousands of people? No, nobody really showed up. Okay, good one, Putin. Also, big headline today, European Union outlines ambitious AI regulations focused on risky uses. We might come back to this as part of our show Friday. As I said, some news internationally, got to cover this, heating up in the Middle East. Jerusalem Post, Syrian missile lands near Dimona nuclear reactor, interception fails. SA-5 flies from Syria all the way to Negev in the longest range attack yet by Syria. Patriot missile activated in response. Israel and Syria exchanged missile attacks early Thursday morning after Damascus launched an advanced surface-to-air missile that landed all the way in the Negev desert. Follow-up, similar related stories. South China Morning Post, U.S. spy planes keep close eye on China amid live-fire military exercise. We've been a little bit behind recently on some of the international news or fighting between governments, international conflict. But I think next week we're going to be coming back to some of these stories, getting more in depth on them a little bit, and we'll get into a little more on the connection there. I meant to put these two stories together also. France 24, Israel strikes targets in Syria after missile lands near nuclear reactor. I guarantee that story will be still live next week, whether we like it or not. So the Crypto 6, CJ, let's see, it's still loading for me here. I don't know if CJ's figured that out. But let's get Mercedes back on screen here because we let COVID really get uncontained today. We need to take some COVID vitamins.
Really did. Should we smoke weed every day?
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
All right, Mercedes. Get
It's a
lay
fresh.
some comedy on me. Tell me we got some more COVID jokes.
Not really. No. There's been a lot of jokes. I'm not like it's not like it's not been entertaining. It's been entertaining, but I think we all have a little bit of ADHD because it's been real bouncy in the comment section. Lots of backs and forths, which is nice to see. But it's like the jokes just follow along with you and what you're talking about, because we're all funny. There was one. I'm scrolling back up quick to see if I still have it. It's gone. So everybody email StreamYard and say, please don't lose comments as the live stream comes, because then they can't put my comment back up, and that's a travesty to humanity and intellectual rights everywhere. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Where was it? Nope, gone. It's gone. So UBNT rolled as the official, in my opinion, the official winner today, because he's the funniest.
All right, congratulations to the Producers Club for defending their exclusivity today.
You just are so good at it. And I mean, if you wanted to talk about like nice things said, if today was a nice things said day, there were lots of nice things said. There wasn't a lot of racism or xenophobia or anything. Like, it was just pretty awesome. Unfortunately,
different flavor
not a lot
trolling
of
today.
Yeah, different. There was trolling definitely, but it wasn't like. Wait, who
I
did
said
that?
the
No,
troll.
wait,
I
lied.
Happy, positive troll. If you keep
No.
the trolls fed, they're less likely to engage
That's
in
what I mean.
really mean trolling.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's what I mean. Who made the grandma comment about killing? That was UBNT rolled, right?
That was was you and trolled.
Okay, because that I just remembered that was the winner, and I didn't remember.
All right. Any final thoughts before we get CJ to take us home with the promos?
No, let's go home with the promos.
All right, take us home, CJ.
A wise man once said something. I forgot. We were smoking weed and it was too much, so I forgot what the wise man said. But Adam, I want to go back to that first episode 1, real quick, if I could. What was your thoughts? Did you see yourself with the show in this format at that point? Like, you're looking back, would you say that this is where you expected to be?
That wasn't episode 1. That was episode 1 of the TV show.
Well, that's what happens when you Google Adam versus the Man episode 1.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Russia Today, for promoting that then, because the real Adam versus the Man episode 1 would be the radio show, and I think that's still online. That's still on our channel. Go back. You go to our YouTube channel, sort by date and reverse, and then go to 2010.
Nice. Well, of course.
Anyway, but no, that's that man. Don't make me get sentimental, because I love being a sentimentalist, and we'll be here for another hour.
2.9 million, Adam. It will sell episode 1 in an NFT. You guys reach out to Adam at the Freedom Line.
When we finally get an offer that's the going price, $2.9 million.
Just to set that bar, if Jack Dorsey's tweet is worth 2.9. Well, I think the whole episode should be worth at least 2.9. So, but hey, closing out the show today, you can go to AdamVersusTheMan.com. Let's see if I have this set up right today. You can go to AdamVersusTheMan.com, click the Patreon link, where $1, $5, $10, or $50 a month will support the production of this show. $10 a month is where it's at. It gives you access into our exclusive Producers Club Telegram chat. That's where we will, prep for the show. It's everybody that's won the contest. It's a great way. You can also go to t.me/Adam versus the Man. That's the public channel. You can get the show notes there. That's where you can see what's on the agenda for the show that day. The next, we've got the store, where you can support the show by wearing merchandise or getting yourself, something that's a little token of your appreciation. If you click latest, you'll see what we've got. Buttons, backpacks, boxers, briefs, and of course my favorite, the Freedom Clock, where the time is always on freedom. And then of course Cigar Federation, where Adam 10, that's ADAM10, all caps, gets you 10% off your order of exotically flavored cigars, JSK Nugs being Adam's favorite. Let's see if I can go to the next one. Oh, of course, the Garden of Freedom. On Instagram at the Garden of Freedom, where you can check out all the cool photos of what's going on in Gardenia. And again, Adam, you said earlier you got to update this, so we'll just leave it at that one for today. Let's see, where else did we get? We were supposed to have, oh yes, a new smile for James Vaughn, our own comment, Jim Freedom, that's still going around in our Telegram chat. So if you could, please help contribute. And then you asked about the Crypto 6. Boom. Well, guess what? If that's the right spelling, right? I'm not messing that up.
Yeah, maybe take out www. Is that? Did you add that?
I've already tried that. Yep, already tried that. So, and then
Yeah.
I think I missed one. I think I missed one in there. Of course, Go Green Energy, as well. So with Jay, it's Jay Nygaard, right? The turbine guy, who will be on tomorrow, if I'm correct. And then as far as one last note for producer notes goes, Aria didn't make it today, so we'll have to reschedule with Marcus there and get her back in rotation. Other than that, send her home, sir.
All right. Well, happy 51st Earth Day. That's right. And also on this day in history from goodnewsnetwork.org, it was on this day in 1889, the Oklahoma land rush began at noon as thousands of homesteaders staked claims. Also on this day in 2005, Japan's Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi apologized for Japan's war record. And then he said, "You start a war with me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize." No, that was Harvey Keitel in Reservoir Dogs. I get those confused a lot. It was also on this day in 2020, Sudan banned female genital mutilation and made it a crime, as it always had been. And with that, mwah, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.